Hi there. I'm Amanda Salzberger and I want to welcome you to my first video blog, so thank you for watching this. Initially, my intention with this video blog was to share with you my race experience at the 6-hour Dirty Girls Trail Race, which was at the end of July. And it's now Labor Day weekend, and part of the reason it's taken me so long to share that experience, it was such an awesome experience, and I was so excited to put it out there. But interestingly, based on some feelings I had going into the race, I was very concerned going into the race, and then some feelings I had after the race, I felt it would be disingenuous to give you this snapshot of, well, yeah, the race was super awesome, which it was, without giving you a broader picture, because that was a peak and a high, and there have definitely been lows. And I share this because one of the things I want people to know is, you know, for the first time in my life, so I'm turning 40 for the first time in my life, the last couple months, at different points, including now, I have had a defined six-pack. And I would show it to you, but it's just not that kind of video, and frankly, it's not that significant. But I mention it because outwardly, I probably look fitter than I have in my entire life. Inwardly, I mention this because my health is super suboptimal. So it's hard for me to reconcile both what I see in the mirror and the fact that I've conditioned myself to dismiss certain types of physical symptoms. This is part of what I think is awesome about the mental conditioning you can get from training and pushing yourself to move forward in spite of obstacles, and then get this endorphin rush and feel like a champion after. But right now, quite honestly, I have alarm bells going off in my body, and fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, someone like me is not smart enough or aware enough in certain ways, not focused on certain types of things, purposely focused on different things, to recognize negative subtleties. So symptoms like having to pee 20 times a day, extreme thirst, dryness, heart palpitations. That was sort of a recent one this weekend. That actually just seemed alarming and concerning, ringing in my ears. I could go through a laundry list of things that truly are suboptimal. Symptoms of severe electrolyte imbalance, a whole bunch of things. My intention is to share, as I go through a healing journey, interestingly I have all the symptoms of someone who has a serious eating disorder, which is frightening and disturbing, and on so many different levels, because they're actually only symptoms. So my eating has certainly changed tremendously, so I couldn't figure out why my symptoms weren't going away, but my level of exercise, even though I was shrinking down exercise time frames, I was finding ways to sneak in all kinds of intensity, just subconsciously based on some images I had in my mind, and it's just been a really, really fascinating journey. So there are a lot of things that I wanted to share with you, and will share with you as I record my experience. I was recently diagnosed with adrenal fatigue syndrome, and at a fairly advanced stage. Like, so to put in perspective, I'm like stage 3, there are only 4 stages. Stage 4 is like being bedridden and not being able to get up, and it's truly only through mental tricks like that I don't experience things like insomnia, because I've trained myself. I'm a hypnotist. I've trained myself to fall asleep. I probably present as reasonably relaxed in spite of the alarm bells that are going off in my body, and that's through training. So there are all sorts of awesome things that I've trained myself to do, and yet I have a belief that life teaches you the same lesson over and over again until you finally learn it. So I'm committed to learning some powerful lessons. But I want to, I guess, share with you what has driven me to this point where I'm having these alarm bells go off, because that's the part of the race experience that I think is significant. And then I can talk about the details of the before, during, and after. But for me, one of the reasons I'm attracted to the intensity of something like an ultra trail race, or even really intense training sessions, there's actually a term called digging deep, or seeing God, or going to the well, where you go so far within that, in my experience, you connect with your true nature. I've had this experience doing fasted meditations, like intense, extreme meditations. I've had this experience cross-culturally. This experience is documented where people, like the martyr thing, people go through these extreme feats where they suffer, and through that they connect with their God or goddess or universal forces. And I've had that experience many times. The reason I call my business Transcend Your Mind is because there are absolutely, and that I even do something like hypnotherapy, there are absolutely techniques to getting outside the limits of your ordinary thinking. And every personal transformation I've had that's been powerful has come from that. So I'm so grateful to have had so many wonderful experiences like that. But when you go to the well too many times and you dig too deep too many times, there's no water left, which is so... There's an airship going on in the background. All these powerful forces. I have a crack in my tongue, one of my symptoms. Inflammation in my body, a whole bunch of things that are indicative of going to the well, and the cracks starting to show, and the dryness, because there's nothing left. I trained myself even to become fat adapted, so most non-crazy people run marathons with things like, I think gels are actually bad, but it's a separate topic, tons of sugar. I trained myself to go beyond bonking and to burn my fat for fuel, and thought all these things were really wonderful. And they can be if you do things in like reasonable doses. But I mention this because for me, training was a mode of transportation into my soul. And when I say that, I don't say that sort of as a joke. I really, my joke with clients is my favorite client sessions are when people are curled up in a ball in fetal position, crying, having unearthed some profound revelation. And for me, if I go for a therapy session or something and don't have that experience, Reiki, it doesn't matter what it is, I feel like I've wasted my money. So I am comfortable with intense emotional experiences. I love them. I'm a little too comfortable with intense emotional experiences, arguably. So which is why I can present as calm when I have like different things coming up in my body. I'm confident that I can focus and find a way to move forward. I haven't had a period in a really long time. And my hormones are totally imbalanced. So there are a bunch of like truly like significant issues that are like genuinely concerning for me. But I'm also, like I say, confident. So I changed a whole bunch of things in my diet. Went from my mindful, just too deep a deficit, clearly, for assuming, underestimating how impactful the amount of training I was doing was. And, I'd do a sprint for 30 seconds or 10 seconds and wouldn't think it was worth mentioning. And actually that changes a whole bunch of things in your body. So there are just so many things when I was exercising less in an attempt to balance out some of my symptoms. I was just upping the intensity. And when your visual is, it's great to be curled up in fetal position, crying, or it's not a good workout, you get all kinds of imbalances happening, especially if you're doing that on a daily basis, because your muscles have adapted, but there's still a cost. So one of the things I've gotten, or I've learned at this point, because I'm having so many alarm bells go off and subtleties apparently don't work with me, is that we don't always feel things. Like right now, if you said there's a mountain in front of me, could I tackle it? I would feel like I wanted to. And such is my challenge. My partner, we had a little joke. I said, I've changed my eating. I have so many nutritional supports. Why am I still experiencing these symptoms? And frankly, why are they getting worse? I think I'm just addicted to exercise. I think even the minimal, what I perceive to be a minimal amount I'm doing, is clearly too much for where I'm at. And I said, I think, and he said, well, you should join I said, I think I'm addicted, and he said, you should join AA, Athletics Anonymous. And when I asked, is there such thing? His comment was, yeah, they call them champions. I think that's part of the challenge, that intensity, that push, that move forward at all costs. There's always a cost. There's such beautiful rewards, which I have enjoyed, and there are serious costs as well, which I'm experiencing now. And so I know for myself, I know from doing hypnotherapy, and feel very privileged to be well equipped to deal with some of these challenges, is that I have all this energy that I was putting into one area that needs to be redirected. So, so on the plus side, I will be working more and taking more sessions. Particularly, ironically, eating disorders, emotional eating. I certainly, if there's any healthy person that wants me to induce an eating disorder, I believe I have the potential to do that. I will be doing a lot less training in the next little while, but I will be using the time to connect with friends. So if you're a friend watching this, all kinds of social activities, slower, more gentle, more yin things. So that's where I'm at.